NBA, dominating the court with godly talent unlocked. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 51, CCTV Live Broadcast Decision. Meet the Goddess of Childhood. First order, New York International Airport. After Zhang Weiping and Su Jiping landed smoothly, they stood at the airport and laughed heartily. Lao Zhang, are you excited? Zhang Weiping lit a cigarette and said, what do you say? Of course I'm excited. After all, Anmu's news was brought back to China by the two of us. It's really exciting to be able to explain his game before Anmu enters the NBA, the two said, greeting a large number of staff behind them. This is a team of 15 people sent by CCTV. In this way, to ensure the smooth broadcast of the NCAA finals. Isn't the NBA coming yet? Su Jiping stood at the exit and said with some doubts. Zhang Weiping said, wait a minute. Within 5 minutes, the NBA headquarters staff arrived. Zhang Weiping communicated with the staff in fluent English. This is the preparation before the live broadcast. When Zhang Weiping and Su Jiping returned to China, they immediately went to the leadership office of CCTV Sports. Once again, they took the newspaper they brought back from the United States and gave it to the leadership of CCTV Sports. When looking at the newspaper pictures with an NBA-level basket in his hand, the leadership of CCTV Sports was shocked. When Zhang and Su proposed to explain the NCAA finals, all this seemed logical. Since a set of CCTV news hookups reported Anmu, domestic basketball mysteries want to know everything about Anmu. Isn't that an opportunity? As a result, CCTV Sports contacted the NBA headquarters. Originally, they planned to contact the NCAA, but they did not have the contact information of the NCAA, so they could only get through the NBA to open up the connection with the NCAA. When Stern learned about this matter, he immediately decided to give CCTV the highest treatment. As a businessman, Stern knows the fan market of the Celestial Empire. At the beginning, he braved the cold winter and waited at the gate of CCTV for more than an hour. It is to get cooperation with CCTV, and now, with a Celestial Dynasty player shining in the NCAA, CCTV Sports really set its sights on the United States. This made Stern very excited. CCTV will broadcast the NCAA finals, the last game of the NCAA year. What will CCTV do when the NCAA game is over? You know, CCTV and the NBA do have a little cooperation, but it is only limited to All-Stars and some games. CCTV will only show some NBA videos and live broadcasts on weekends, which is not what Stern is looking forward to. What he hopes is that CCTV can interpret NBA games every day, and now, the opportunity has come. Wait until the NCAA game is over. Anmu is about to enter the NBA, Anmu enters the NBA, and fans of the Celestial Empire must want to watch Anmu play. Then, the close cooperation between CCTV and the NBA should be put on the agenda. For CCTV's live broadcast of the NCAA tournament, Stern personally contacted the NCAA League. He then obtained the consent of the NCAA League, and he also used some connections. Directly opened up all the joints for CCTV. At that time, the working group sent by CCTV Sports only needs to explain. Some executives at NBA headquarters don't understand why Stern did this. After all, Stern's behavior has caused the NBA to suffer greatly, and Stern smiled, and at the same time secretly scolded these executives in his heart for being stupid. Now suffer a little loss, you can open up the Celestial Empire market. Celestial Empire market, how much is it worth? Invaluable. There is such an opportunity to seize it undyingly, isn't it stupid? Stern kept an account for each of these stupid executives in his small book. After reaching a consensus with the NBA, Zhang and Su flew to New York. I don't even know where my biological clock is now. After knowing this matter, Zhang, Su, and the two were very happy. At the same time, they are also laughing at themselves. First in Atlanta, I didn't have time to get jet lagged and hurried to finish all the work. Then returned to China, did not have time to reverse jet lag, went to the leader's office to report and finally, came to New York in the United States non-stop. In less than a week, in the United States, there was a 3-in, 3-out CCTV side, and preparations were carried out non-stop. On the night of March 31st, the gains of Vic Forest and Kentucky came out. Victorious Forest advanced to the final. Duncan, who has always been low-key, unexpectedly challenged Anmu in front of the media, and the final will be staged on April 12th. Santa Clara University hotels. Anmu came out of the room bored. It's not interesting to play PS1 with Nash every day, or the PS5 experience is good, so he decided to go shopping. He walked alone on the streets of the United States, and some fans saw Anmu and ran over to ask for Anmu's autograph. That is, at this time, mobile phones are not developed, and there is no way to take a group photo. Otherwise Anmu will definitely smile today until his face cramps. While walking, Anmu saw a coffee shop. After pushing the door and walking in, there was another burst of surprise. However, the coffee shop is not the same as on the street. The customers in the store respected Anmu's privacy more and did not come forward to disturb, but just smiled and greeted Anmu. It's also a little star. Anmu smiled, responded, looking for an empty seat. Unfortunately, today the coffee shop business is very good and no empty seats were found. Eventually, he came to a table by the window. Sitting at this table is a yellow-skinned girl. For people of the same skin color as himself, Anmu is close to each other. Hello, can you sit here? Anmu pointed to the seat, and then pointed around. There are no empty seats here. The girl raised her head and looked at Anmu. Some were shocked by Anmu's height. Of course, what shocked her even more was Anmu's face shape, which seemed to be a little more handsome than Lu Dehua, who had made a movie with herself some time ago. Of course, beauty is justice. Women have almost no resistance to handsome guys, and Enmu gives her a good impression, courteous and cheerful. The main thing is, handsome. Enmu waited until the girl turned her head and looked at her with some surprise. Lee Jae-sun? Hearing that Enmu recognized herself, Lee Jae-sun nodded. It's me. Enmu was a little surprised. He didn't expect such a coincidence. I actually met Lee Jae-sun. Now Lee Jae-sun is also a well-known actress on Hong Kong Island. He has cooperated with Lu Dehua, Li Ming, and Kung Fu superstar Li Lianjia in the Four to Heavenly Kings. She has appeared in Yuan Zhenxia, Drunken Fist 3, and Feng Shiyu. The sunlight shone on her face, clearly showing her delicate face. Her long hair is like a waterfall flowing smoothly, which makes her noble and elegant, and her charm is moving. Hey, what do you see? Lee Jae-sun snorted at Enmu Jiao. Now she is already speaking Chinese to Enmu. Enmu replied honestly, look at the beauty. This used to be the childhood goddess in the minds of countless teenagers. Now she can be said to be at the peak of her appearance. Poof. Lee Jae-sun smiled and said with a smile, you are quite honest at this time. The waiter came to the table to grind. Mr. N? What do you need to order? Enmu pointed at Lee Jae-sun. It's the same as this lady's. After the waiter made a record, he turned and left. Lee Jae-sun looked at the waiter, who turned to leave and asked casually, do you come often? No, first time. But why did the waiter call you Mr. N? Enmu blinked. You guess. Lee Jae-sun was amused by Enmu again. You are quite interesting. She stirred the coffee in front of her with a spoon, and looked at Enmu with one hand, a little dazed. Hey, what do you see? Enmu stretched out his hand and waved to wake up Lee Jae-sun. Look at the handsome guy. Is it illegal? A same answer as Enmu just now. The two looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. At this time, the waiter also walked to the table and put the coffee in front of Enmu. Mr. N, please use slowly. Then she took another piece of paper and pen from the tray. My boyfriend likes you very much. Can you sign it for me? Enmu took a pen and paper and wrote his name neatly. Thank you, and have a perfect date with this lady. The waiter was happy. Lee Jae-sun's face turned red. Why don't you explain? Enmu adjusted the coffee and said, explanation is a cover-up, and a cover-up is a fact. Enmu successfully made Lee Jae-sun laugh again. You're really interesting. Coaxed a lot of girls, right? Enmu shook his head repeatedly, revealing a charming smile. Before you, I have never spoken to anyone like this. Lee Jae-sun felt her heart thumping a little. This guy is so sultry. You still haven't told me why the waiter knows you and asks you to sign an autograph. As far as I know, there doesn't seem to be such a tall male star in the United States. Lee Jae-sun's eyes were full of curiosity. Enmu showed his big hand. What I do is very special. Lee Jae-sun blinked, her eyelashes jumping up and down mischievously. How special is it? Enmu thought for a moment and said, ordinary people, you can't do it. Lee Jae-sun was even more curious. Don't play dumb puzzles anymore. What is the special thing? Enmu Yu said, hold the ball with both hands, break through Jean by defense. Hey. You man. How can you talk like that? Lee Jae-sun's face turned red, and she said a little angrily, I'll leave like this again. She originally thought that this handsome guy in front of her was quite interesting, but why did she suddenly say such strangeness? What about what makes people think crookedly? Enmu looked at Lee Jae-sun suspiciously. What's wrong? I said I was a basketball player. Are you trying to be crooked? Lee Jae-sun suddenly covered her cheeks with both hands, and she couldn't see anyone when she was finished. People's meaning is so clear. Why do they want to be crooked? I'm sorry. Lee Jae-sun stuck out her tongue and apologized to Enmu. Are you an NBA player? Lee Jae-sun's eyes were full of curiosity. Enmu shook his head. I'm an NCAA player, or a college student. But in a few months, I'm going to the NBA draft. Oh. Lee Jae-sun seemed to understand everything. Then, why are you so popular? A college player can't be so popular, right? Enmu smiled and said, players, also 369, etc. Just like an actor, no one knows anyone in the 18th line. But if you get a Golden Horse Award, then there will be more people who know you. Oh. Lee Jae-sun nodded again and asked again, so you won the Golden Horse Award in basketball, right? I haven't got it yet, but it's soon. Enmu took a sip of coffee and continued, when I finish the finals, the awards should be distributed. Finals? Like a curious baby, Lee Jae-sun continued to ask questions. It is the finals of the Ulmeter College students, and the one who wins the finals is the most powerful team of the Ulmeter College students. Oh. Lee Jae-sun nodded and looked at Enmu seriously. Are you really so powerful? Enmu thought for a while and said uncertainly, it may be a little more powerful than I described. Why are you so immodest? Because I'm confident. Enmu smiled and invited Lee Jae-sun. Do you want to come to the game? It's wonderful. Lee Jae-sun was a little surprised. Invite people the first time you meet a girl, isn't it? Enmu smiled slightly. I think it's very good. Well, it's the prerogative of handsome guys. Lee Jae-sun still agreed to Enmu's invitation. Then, leave a phone number, and I'll send you tickets when the time comes. Okay. Lee Jae-sun's smile is full of youthful vitality under the sunshine. For the rest of the time, the two sat in the coffee shop and talked. Lang talented girl. It was all the customers of the coffee shop who described Enmu and Lee Jae-sun, and it seemed that no one was willing to interrupt the conversation between the two people. Late. After not knowing how long they chatted, Lee Jae-sun suddenly glanced at the clock in the coffee shop and was a little panicked. It's over. I'm going to be late. Sorry, I'll go first. I'll cheer you on when you play. Lee Jessen lifted the bag and was about to leave. Your coffee. And Moo pointed to the coffee she had barely touched, indicating that she had not finished drinking it yet. Actually, I just came to the coffee shop today in a daze. I just love the quiet atmosphere. I don't like to drink this bitter thing. Lee Jessen looked at Moo's face again, and smiled happily. It's a pleasure to chat with you. See you in the game. See you at the game. Lee Jialuan, who walked out of the coffee shop, was very happy. I came to the coffee shop today to completely empty myself in a daze, but I didn't expect to meet an interesting person. This person is tall and handsome, and he talks with humor. Lee Jialuan looked back at the coffee shop and found that the handsome guy was waving at her. She smiled cleverly, stretched out her jade hand and waved at the handsome guy. Then, turn around and leave with brisk steps. Oops. Forgot to ask his name. Lee Jessen helplessly hammered her head with her small hand. Lee Jessen, are you a pig brain? She reluctantly looked up at the sky, but accidentally saw a large screen on the side of the road. That airs official NCAA promotional video and personal highlights. She saw the handsome guy just now. As the highlights played, Lee Jessen's eyes widened more and more, and when the last scene was played, she opened her mouth wide in surprise. At the same time, he also saw Moo's name. Mu. Gently pronouncing Moo's name, she muttered, that handsome guy who talked humorously just now. Is he so violent on the basketball court? Lee Jessen was a little unsure. Is this still Moo who was talking and laughing with her just now? Handsome and domineering on the pitch. There must be many girls who like such a boy. Lee Jessen blinked, recalling the conversation with Moo just now, and a smile appeared on her face. It seems that it is a little exciting. And Moo drank his coffee, then got up and returned to the hotel. Nash waited until Moo returned to the hotel, and his nose moved. Then he looked at Moo with a smile that all men understand. And, I didn't expect you to go out for an afternoon. You went on a date with a girl. But I want to remind you that we still have to focus on the game now. After winning the championship, if you take the championship trophy and the championship ring, if you go to this girl, it will definitely be better. Steve, do you think you still use these things to teach me? With this life, Moo has not yet fallen in love. But in the last life, Moo was a veteran of the love scene women, all the same. Female stars, it's no different. Steve, don't talk nonsense. Come, play games. The two turned on the PS1 and rubbed the controller again. The day of the final is getting closer, and the rest of Santa Clara University is starting to get nervous. Even Nash inevitably became nervous. April 2nd, the day after April Fool's Day. It is also the day the NCAA finals begin. In the morning, Nash got up early to make a cup of coffee. He picked up the coffee with a slightly trembling hand. After taking a sip, Nash frowned. The instant taste is much worse than the hand-ground one. After seeing Nash, Moo quipped, Steve, I'm nervous. 0.9. Don't be nervous. Nash glanced at Moo, who is like you, always has a feeling that everything is in control. Now even Coach David is starting to get nervous. Aren't you nervous? And Moo shook his head and mentioned the things he had just gone out to buy and was ready to go out. I'm not nervous at all, but now I'm going to the kitchen to make something and relax myself. Nash looked at the plastic bag Moo was carrying in his hand. Man, you're not going to tell me that you just go to the supermarket in the morning to buy these things, do you? That's it. What's wrong? After hearing Moo's affirmation, Nash looked at him. I kind of understand this guy. The mentality is too good. And Moo teased, it's time to do something. Senior. When Nash heard the senior, a stiff smile appeared on his face. This is Moo mocking him. A freshman student is not nervous. As a senior in his own year, he even began to shake his hand on coffee in the morning before the game began. Why is the gap between people so large? Looking at Moo who was about to go out, Nash said again, you made something for me to eat. In the past year, Nash has tasted Mu's cooking. 2 words to describe, delicious. In more words, it's delicious. If this guy doesn't play basketball, he can make a name for himself by opening a restaurant. Nash had thought about it countless times. In the past, Moo would promise himself boldly, but this time Moo shook his head. Steve, I won't eat anything I made today. So you can't be. Nash remembered the smell of perfume on his clothes when Moo came back yesterday. Medea. Was it for the woman who was dating yesterday? Guy who has forgotten his friends. I think the hotel set menu and instant coffee were good. Labor and capital are not rare for you to cook. And Moo looked at the angry Nash and said slowly, since you think the hotel's package is good, after that, you don't eat the food I cook. And, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me for my rudeness and ignorance. Episode 52, Celestial Giant Beast vs American Star. Goddess attends the ultimate battle. April 2nd, 7 p.m. This day is the day of the highest enthusiasm for basketball in the whole meter. NCAA final day. Yes, this guy really made it to the final. Kobe walked into Madison Arena, chewing gum. He once promised Moo that if Moo reached the final, then Kobe would come to see Moo's game. Now, he's living up to his promise. Speaking of Kobe, his fame has risen again since he saw the full star return to Philadelphia. Although, the one that played alongside O'Neal on the street court, Bryant didn't make any substantial performances. Just stealing Nash once and then passing the ball to O'Neal made no contribution at all. However, he is teamed up with the NBA's all-star caliber center. The opponents with him are also characters who have killed all sides in the NCAA. Kobe Bryant can appear at this level of competition. In fact, he has proved his own strength. And Kobe Bryant, who was beaten 5-0, returned to Philadelphia and became angry, waking up at 4 in the morning every morning to go to training. His father once asked him, "Why do you always choose to go to the ball at 4 a.m. and then go home at 8 a.m. and sleep until 12 o'clock? Isn't it okay for you to sleep until 8 o'clock, ensure your sleep time, and then sleep well until 12 o'clock? Kobe shook his head firmly at that time and said, "The environment at 4 o'clock in the morning will remind me of the humiliation at the beginning. Only at 4 o'clock in the morning, when my motivation is the most." In response, his father, Joe Bryant, did not encourage his son. "Instead, I felt that my son was beaten 5-0 stupidly. You train at 4 in the morning, no problem. But after your training, can you not sleep again? I slept for 4 hours." However, Kobe's hard training did have an effect. More than a month after returning from the All-Star, Pennsylvania's Interstate League also began. Kobe led the team to a big win in the league. On March 24, Bryant, who led the team to the Pennsylvania State Championship and is now, can be said to have nothing to do. That's why he came straight to Madison to watch the game. In order to avoid traffic being robbed by the NCAA, the NBA also chose to suspend all games today. Barkley, Jordan, Pippen, these NBA bigwigs, came to watch the game. Today, they are present as fans. Cardinal Auerbach, who watched the last game, and West the Logo Man, and Warriors general manager Turchowak also came to the scene. This face is even comparable to the NBA Finals. Even a little more luxurious than the NBA Finals. Scott, who are you optimistic about at 24? Barkley, Jordan, and Pippen are seated next to each other. And although Barkley always bickers with Jordan, the two have a good relationship in private. After all, it was the people who had been in the Gold Club together. After hearing Buckley's question, Pippen did not hesitate at all. "I think it is Mu. That guy cut 40 plus 20 plus 20 on the field. No one in the NBA has ever been able to take this data. It's a data maniac." Jordan shook his head. "I think it's Duncan. That Celestial Dynasty little guy is really outstanding. But Sim Duncan's technology is more mature. Also, it's very good on both the offensive and defensive ends. And Mu just met a real center today." Jordan spoke highly of Duncan. In other words, the evaluation of Duncan in the American basketball world is very high. Because Duncan was really good, he was already at the top of the interior in his sophomore year. However, this guy promised his mother to finish her senior year to enter the NBA, so he had to wait to choose his team. As Duncan has increased, his skills have become better and better, and his understanding of the game and the handling of various problems on the field have become more and more sophisticated. That's something a lot of NCAA centers can't do. Barkley said, like Scott, "I am also optimistic about Mu. Michael, how about we make a bet?" Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Yes, bet, it's Jordan's favorite thing. Or, gambling, is Jordan's favorite thing. Bet, it's just the lowest level in bet." However, because Barkley proposed it, Jordan was also happy to play with him. The clubhouse in New York is still good. If Santa Clara wins the game today, you treat yourself. If Santa Clara loses and I treat you, how about it? Jordan didn't hesitate. "Of course. Charles, you wait to lose." Barkley said, "Oh, I think I'm going to be the winner. Then let's see whose luck is good." Jordan looked at Wake Forest University, which had already begun to play on the field, and said, "Santa Clara University locker room." And Mu took out his mobile phone. "And, did you enter? Lee, already in. Come on your race. I'll cheer you on, and, don't worry, I'm sure I'll give you a small gift after winning the game." Lee, really? RN, I never lie. It's time to play, bye-bye. Lee, come on, come on. Bye-bye. After putting down the phone, and Mu sorted out his clothes and looked at the backpack in the closet. There are gifts that I will give in a while. The game is about to start, and other players from Santa Clara University have already begun to enter. Nash urged, "Go away," and immediately the DJ introduced. As the DJ introduced, player after player ran out of the players' tunnel. To be able to play in a stadium like Madison is the only time in their lives for most players on both teams. They're not the same as the star players. Maybe after this game, they never get a chance to play in a stadium like this again. After graduation, they will return to society and be ordinary working class people every day after returning home, sitting in front of the TV and watching their former teammates in the NBA of the arena game. So, for the average player on both teams, they cherish this opportunity very much. The appearance ceremony of Wake Forest has been completed. Santa Clara University's appearance ceremony is underway. As the sound of the live DJ sounded, Santa Clara University players poured out of the players' tunnel one by one. As the core killer of Santa Clara University, and Mu was naturally the last to run out of the player tunnel. At this point, the live DJ introduced him like this. He is a giant from the ancient East. He is a fighter roaring in the sky. He is the most brutal basket bomber. Let's welcome 7-foot-tall number 0 from Santa Clara University, and Maki. The DJ's introduction is very provocative. When Mu appears, Madison's 19,763 spectators began shouting wildly. After the All-Star, and Mu's popularity in the United States has risen a big step. Duncan's popularity is somewhat dwarfed by Mu. And Mu. And Mu, listening to the crazy shouts of the fans at the scene, Lee Jae-sun was a little surprised by Mu's popularity in the United States. Although Lee Jae-sun's acting career on Hong Kong Island is quite good, she also has a certain popularity in Asia. However, there are really few people who know her in the United States. And Mu, on the other hand, is different. He can be on the big screen of advertising in New York, which already shows his popularity, and the enthusiasm of the fans around him was also transmitted to the goddess of Hong Kong Island. He, like the fans around him, began to cheer for Mu. Domestic, security and defense country. The two got up early, turned on the TV, and didn't even have to adjust the station, and the TV stayed directly at CCTV 5 sets. In recent days, each of CCTV's 5 sets of advertisements will mention that they will broadcast the NCAA finals live. The two have not seen Mu for a long time, and they heard that their son would appear on TV, both surprised and delighted. At the same time, there is still a trace of resentment in Liu Yayan's eyes now. Because, since Mu was reported by CCTV News Network on the first day of the new year, Liu Yayan has been writing letters to Mu. However, Mu, this kid has never replied. Liu Yayan is also worried about what is wrong with his son in the United States. Finally, after learning that CCTV 5 sets wanted to broadcast his son live, Liu Yayan's heavy burden in his heart was slowly let go. This little thing. What a conscience. Don't you know how to write me back? Looking at the handsome Mu on TV, Liu Yayan's eyes were slightly red, and his voice was a little hoarse and complained. In fact, this really can't be blamed on Mu. Since returning to Santa Clara from the All-Star, Mu has been training. It didn't take long for INCAA's March Madness to begin, so when the letter arrived at the school, he was not in the school at all, and naturally, he could not receive a letter from his mother. Although the old couple don't know much about what a basketball game is, however, Mu can appear inside, which is the thing that makes them most happy. The competition is about to start. The biggest attraction of this game is no different from Mu versus Duncan. One has been born out of nowhere, and the other has been famous for a long time. One domineering side leak, one low-key and calm. One is a giant of the Celestial Empire, and the other is the star of the United States. All this seems to form a sharp contrast. What was the result of this game? Who will spend this game? And look! The ultimate NCAA battle. The match officially began, and Mu and Duncan stood on the midfield line. Duncan's gaze revealed a calmness that did not match his age. What Muhan revealed was a domineering wildness that was different from the gentle one off the field. This is the unique temperament attached to the God's chosen body. Beep. The referee blows the whistle and throws the basketball high, and Mu and Duncan jumped at the same time. The reaction speed of the two, the bouncing speed is very fast, and they are in the air side by side. But soon, Mu was in the lead. Tim Duncan's 230 centimeters arm span lost in a battle with Mu's 235 centimeters arm span, and Mu won. After slapping the basketball to Nash, Mu landed and immediately wanted to launch a counterattack. But Duncan followed Mu step by step. Duncan is different from Campy. He won't give Mu any chance to attack. Jumping ball fast attack, Santa Clara's most classic tactic, failed to succeed. Nash was in no hurry and calmly advanced with the ball. Before the game, he was nervous, but after the game began, all emotions were left behind by Nash. Now all the white point guard has in mind is winning. Nash came to the front court with steady possession of the ball, and Santa Clara University's first offensive tactic was the blocking of Nash and Mu. After blocking, Nash quickly cut into the box and shot directly to the basket. Bang! The nickname of the Powerpuff Devil describes Duncan's horror to the fullest. He followed Nash and gave Nash a nailboard hat directly. However, Mu, who followed from behind, jumped up and caught the basketball that was flown by Duncan's hat for the first time. After getting the basketball, Mu jumped twice and plucked the green onions on the dry land. One arm buckle. Boom! Duncan had just turned around when he saw Santa Clara University's number 0 jersey crashing towards him, and Mu opening sept Duncan. After being blocked, Duncan's face did not change in any way, and he was still googing Bubo. A psychology major, he will not express any of his thoughts on his face. Perfect. Barkley applauded on the sidelines, though Nash's layup was blocked by Duncan. But Mu followed the basket and played the momentum of Santa Clara University very well. Good ball. And Mu's ball is very reasonable. Nash's choice just now is not very reasonable. If he gives the basketball to Mu, he will not eat a block. When Zhang Weiping made it to the sideline commentary seat, he had already changed from Zhang Weiping to Zhang Reasonable. The word, reasonable, kept popping out of Zhang Weiping's mouth. Offense and defense conversion, Victor Forrest ball. Point guard Blaswell took possession of the ball for half and passed the basketball into Duncan's hands. Duncan held the ball mid-range on the flank and made a tentative move, and Mu moved back cautiously to prevent Duncan from breaking through. Duncan seized the moment and shot quickly. Basketball is played and boarded into the basket. Good. Wake Forest head coach Dave Odom smiled. Duncan performed well in the duel with Mu. This is in stark contrast to Campy's previous struggles. As soon as Mu blocked Duncan, Duncan responded with a 45-degree board that he was best at. It seems that this game is finally not a one-sided game. Finally see a real battle between inside and inside. This final may go down in history. The game continues. Nash advanced with the ball, and after being blocked once by Duncan, Nash's choice this time began to be cautious. After blocking with Mu, he broke through to the inside line, and did not forget to observe Duncan's position while speeding up. Duncan still kept Nash within his defensive range as long as Nash shot. Even if Duncan can't complete the block, it will definitely cause a lot of interference for Nash. It's really much better than Marcus can be. Nash was internally surprised. That's what the real top inside line performs. This is the real hit. Camby is called a top hit, which is really an insult to this word. In Nash's mind, only Amu, Duncan, and Iverson, who played last game, can be called top favorites. As for Camby, just a jumping man. Amu's movement was very sharp, and after Nash caught Duncan's defensive attention, Amu directly inserted himself into the inside line. Nash immediately hit the ground and passed the basketball to Amu's hand. After Amu got the pass, he immediately jumped to attack. Unexpectedly, Duncan's reaction was not at all satisfied. His steps were fast, and he turned around quickly. When Amu was about to make a move, he had to cover Amu when he jumped. Amu contracted the core of his body in the air, protecting the basketball in his arms. When Duncan's big hand whistled above his head, Amu threw the basketball out. Bang! Score goals on the board. Good ball. Amu's aerial stagnant lever fully demonstrated his physical fitness, 1 inch 287. This is Amu's talent. The number 21 inside line named Tim Duncan on the opposite side can't do anything to take Amu. Zhongli is now doing his best to praise Amu. As for why don't you talk about the big man on the 21st opposite? Because, until now, none of them had heard of the name Tim Duncan Wake Forest offense. Duncan held the ball low and hit Amu with his back, and after a series of backlashes, he suddenly hooked his hand and shot. Without any precursor, the basketball gently flew out of his hand. Bang! Hit in front of the basket and enter the basket. It's up and down. It's just up and down. Yes. You come and go. It's wonderful. Amu's style is violent, and Duncan's style is delicate. The two of you come and go. Today's ticket is worth buying. After hearing the fans' comments on Amu, Lee Jessen smiled on her face. After laughing, the corners of his eyes curved, and his eyes revealed an indescribable thought. In the first 5 minutes, the stadium seemed to become a gladiatorial arena between Amu and Duncan. Neither of them let anyone. They are all using their strongest abilities to fight each other. This made the fans on the sidelines mesmerized. In 5 minutes, Amu scored 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 blocks on 4 of 4 shooting, with Duncan shooting 3 of 3 for 6 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 block. Santa Clara is 15-13, 2 points ahead of Victor Forest. Santa Clara University attacked again, and after Nash blocked the outside and Amu, the ball was given to Amu. Amu held the ball to hit the inside to attract the bag, and suddenly split the ball to Nash, who was empty on the outside. After receiving the basketball, Nash aimed at the basket and hit steadily. 21-16. And, your passing is a bit of a magician. Steve, your shot is also a bit of Reggie Michael's crosshair. No. I'm much more accurate than Michael. My passing is also much more gorgeous than the magician. On the way back of the two, they began to blow each other commercially. Vic Forest attacked again. Duncan flanked the mid-range singles with the ball, and all the eyes of all the players in Vic Forest were focused on Amu and Duncan. Duncan's movements did not drag his feet, and after the shot was tentative, he suddenly got off the ball and took a big step inside. Amu was not deceived by Duncan's shooting temptation, and while Duncan got off the ball, Amu straightened his chest and engaged in a fierce confrontation with him. Duncan kills under the basket, separates Amu with his right hand, and hooks his left hand. This action looks at the NBA superstars on the sidelines. I didn't expect him to have developed a left-handed layup. In such a fierce confrontation, a left-handed layup is a very safe way. Barkley is an inside lineman and naturally knows how difficult it can be for an inside lineman to develop his left hand. Duncan hooked his left hand and shot. Amu did not give in at all, and jumped quickly while slightly staggering Duncan's position. With his arms in the air, he used all his strength and headed towards the basketball cover in Duncan's hand. Snap! The sky does not deserve the heart. With a loud bang, Amu completed the cap on Duncan. Can this be covered? Barkley's eyes widened. There is not much difference between Amu and Duncan's height and arm span. When Duncan chooses a left-handed hook, can Amu still cap Duncan? See, Buckley gasped. It seems that I still underestimate Amu. However, he looked at Jordan next to him and smiled again. And, the better you perform, the happier I am. Episode 53. The goddess is jealous, and the relay on the backboard is against the sky. The hammer of destruction shakes Madison, and Amu fiercely flew the basketball cap in Duncan's hand. The basketball was grabbed by Garnett, who immediately controlled the ball and rushed towards the front court. The other players in Vicar Forest are not weak. Speeding towards Garnett, Garnett made a layup in a physical confrontation with Victor Forest's small forward. The confrontation was too fierce, and the referee acquiesced to using this level of confrontation in the final, so the whistle was not blown at all. Basketball deflects. Frontcourt rebounds. All Marlon Garnett can do now is warn his teammates, and he has some regrets in his heart. Should have waited for Steve or Ann. Let the two of them handle this quick attack, and the effect will definitely be very good. Vic Forest was quick to retreat, but Nash had a good anticipation of where the rebounds would fall. He jammed the Victor Forest point guard and kept the basketball firmly in his hands. Nash, who was in the middle of the flank, looked at the backfield. At this time, Amu rushed like a galloping heavy off-road. Without any hesitation, Nash shoved the basketball into Amu's hand. After Amu got the basketball, he strode into the three-point line, start from the free throw line and rush to the basket with unstoppable momentum. If at this time a fierce man in Vic Forest stands up and stands under the basket, it can cause Anmu's offensive foul. However, no one dared to go out and create an offensive foul on Anmu. Fierce men are not fierce men, you have to survive. The consequences of creating Anmu's offensive foul must be very miserable, and it is even possible to be hit by Anmu and vomit blood. This kind of giant-level player's offense is not something they can block. It was like O'Neal saved the ball and pounced on his teammates. And O'Neal's teammates dodged the bench like lightning when they saw the behemoth rushing towards him. Boom! Anmu raised the fire with one hand and completed the domineering dunk. At this time, Duncan, who had just been blocked by Anmu, ran into the three-point line. It seems, the game has been a little different from this moment on. On the sidelines, Barkley sensed the situation on the pitch had changed somewhat. After completing the dunk, Anmu roared angrily towards the audience. Then he looked somewhere in the stadium seat. He found Lee Jessen and winked at Lee Jessen. After Lee Jessen saw Anmu's eyes, her cheeks turned red. This guy, so many people dare to make such a move in this situation? It's too bold. At this time, some female fans around him played a little too much. Ah. And just shot me an electric eye. He's so handsome. Ah, he's headed for me, and I'm going. Don't you look at what you look like either? Can and take a fancy to you? Don't quarrel with the two of you. Let go of and let me come. Listening to the words of these female fans, Lee Jessen couldn't help but straighten her waist. At the same time, arrogantly looked at several female fans arguing. Cut, how can Anmu take a fancy to you? Humph. Snorting, listening to the words of the female fans, she felt as if she was a little jealous in her heart. Then, Lee Jessen once again set her eyes on Anmu's body. He plays, so domineering, so handsome. I like it. Duncan was a little surprised after receiving a block from Anmu. How did he get himself just now? I'm about the same height and reach as him. I shook my head and didn't let this emotion affect my performance. Duncan continued to focus all his energy on the field. However, in the next few minutes, the situation on the field really changed. As Barkley said, since Anmu's attack and defense against Duncan, the overall momentum of Vic Forest has weakened Santa Clara. By the 13th minute, Santa Clara University was 30-22, as many as 8 points ahead of Santa Clara University. Looking at the point difference seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Coach Odom immediately chose to take a timeout. After Duncan came off the court, Odom called him to his side. Tim, you should defend that celestial center a little tighter. Don't give him any chance to enter the box. Watch out for his inner cut. As long as he doesn't get into the box, there's no way for him to score. Understand? Hearing this, Duncan nodded calmly and said, Don't worry, coach. I understand. Odom patted Duncan on the shoulder. Strengthen your offense, this is the time for you to perform. Since the first 5 minutes, Duncan has conceded the play on the offensive end. This is one of the reasons why Wake Forest University is lagging behind. Okay, Duncan cherishes words like gold, but he took all the arrangements of the coach to heart. The game continues. Wake Forest had the ball, and Duncan followed the coach's instructions and asked the point guard for a single. Hold the ball in a low position, put all the weight of your body on Anmu's body, and feel the power confrontation from Anmu. Suddenly, Duncan quickly released the ball and smashed it on the ground. Bang! This was the first time Anmu and Duncan had fought in a low position. Anmu was hit by Duncan and did not move. Duncan was also a little surprised by Anmu's strength, but considering that this guy had beaten O'Neal 5-0, it seemed that everything was a little logical. Duncan didn't fight with Anmu too much and bumped back again. With the power of the rebound from Anmu, choose a backup jumper. This technique under the basket, Duncan uses such as arm command, switching between various movements. There is no obscurity. Anmu was a little surprised to see Duncan use a backward jumper. This guy's arsenal was so diverse when he was in college. However, Anmu did not hesitate, and at the moment when Duncan jumped backwards, he threw himself directly in front of Duncan. The closure is definitely not blocked, and the physical fitness of the two is similar. All Anmu could do was seal Duncan's eyes so that Duncan couldn't see the basket. Duncan habitually closed his eyes after being sealed by Anmu, so all kinds of shooting sensations are gone. Oh, the basketball hits the back edge of the basket and bounces high. After landing on the ground, Anmu turned around and jammed Duncan, easily grabbing the rebound. Handed over to Nash to advance, the Anmu heavy off-road rushed towards the front court at the speed of a sports car. Duncan's static talent is similar to Anmu's, and most of the dynamic talents are similar. But Anmu's straight-line acceleration is incomparable to Duncan. While Anmu was running wildly, Duncan could only speed up to catch up with Anmu, but in exchange, he was still left behind by Anmu. Nash shouted in the backcourt and passed the basketball to Anmu's hand. After Anmu got the basketball, he held the ball and rushed to the basket. Stop him! Stop him! Odom yelled from the sidelines at the players who had already returned to Vic Wood's defense. Vic Forest power forward Ricky Peral heard the Bishop's roar, gritted his teeth, and blocked directly under the basket. After Anmu saw Peral, his speed did not decrease in the slightest. The referee has already put the whistle in his mouth, and if this speed is not slowed down, it will definitely be a foul with the ball for a while. Although Anmu's impact speed is fast, he should be at least a little clumsy as a big man. Many people have this kind of thought in their minds. At the same time, people also began to pray for Peral. I hope you can survive Anmu's collision. Amen. And Mu also saw Peral. Want to create fouls? Is it that simple? With one step to go before Peral, and Mu suddenly held the ball with his right foot as the axis, turned around cleanly and passed Peral, then grabbed the ball with one hand and violently abused the frame. Jesus Christ. He was able to turn around in high-speed dribbling? It's terrible. This is too demanding for physical flexibility. Even Olajuwon, who is known for his flexibility, can't make such a turn, right? On the sidelines, David smiled happily. Do you think that in Mu's daily training, in addition to the basket, is the basket? How can it be? In order to improve in Mu's comprehensive strength, before the start of Mad March, Coach David gave in Mu various trainings. Among them is this kind of training in fast dribbling and sudden turns. This style of play is really shocking now. However, if you put it in the era when Mu traveled over, it is not so rare. Isn't there a lot of wonderful highlights of Brother Alphabet who suddenly turned around and buckled after such a breakthrough? When Mu violently abused the frame, Santa Clara University's lead against Wake Forest had reached 10 points. Odom made a tactical gesture on the sidelines. Duncan held the ball at the free throw line and watched the team run. Suddenly, Wake Forest's point guard used his strong body to knock Nash away and slipped from Mu's back to the basket. Duncan observed the opportunity and immediately passed the ball to point guard Braswell. After Blytheville received the ball, he made a layup. Duncan breathed a sigh of relief that the point difference was finally back within 8 points. The giant of the Celestial Empire in front of him is too strong, and he has to take it out with all his strength to attack and defend, and St. Croix Grain attacks. Nash carried the ball on the outside and advanced through the half. The low-level Duncan and Mu were engaged in hand-to-hand combat, and Duncan did not give Mu the slightest chance to enter the penalty area. Mu had to run to block Nash. It seems that it will not be easy for Mu to enter the forbidden area next, but as soon as Barkley's voice fell and Mu, who was blocking Nash, suddenly cut inside before Braswell could hit him. This is a fake block. Duncan was also aware that he was moving his feet to quickly follow him as he cut inside. Nash's pass has reached in Mu's hands, and Mu holds the ball and engages in a fierce physical confrontation with Duncan. Carrying Duncan, Mu killed all the way to the basket. This ball Mu must handle well, otherwise it may be blocked, Coach Zhang said with some concern. However, the next moment, the fans were shocked, and Mu carried Duncan all the way into the inside line, and jumped directly before Duncan could react. Take a leap into the air and put the basketball behind your head with both hands. His body was drawn like a bow to the full moon, and the basketball in his hand went towards the basket like an arrow. The bow is like a full moon, and the arrow is like a shooting star. Boom! When Mu finished clasping his hands, Dang stood on the ground dumbfounded, a little puzzled. This guy, why did he dunk? The next moment, his sluggishness was forcibly interrupted by Mu. Because of the inertia after the dunk, Mu's body swayed in the air and hit Duncan's body. After being hit by Mu's body, Duncan retreated repeatedly, and his center of gravity was unstable. Bang! He fell to the floor. It's crazy. Pippen looked at Mu's dunk and shook his head in disbelief. Michael, this guy's dunk is too brutal. Can directly knock Tim Duncan to the ground. Jordan's heart was turbulent, but the surface was still old. Character, be steady. Force, keep it. Nothing remarkable, I'll think back. Barkley said on the side. Cut, Michael, don't pretend. It's definitely your treat tonight. The first half of the game is over. Santa Clara University held its 10-point lead well, 50-40, and Mu played another full half, cutting down 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 blocks. Duncan was also impressive, scoring 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 blocks. From the opening 5 minutes, he is slightly behind. I think maybe over time, the data gap between Mu and Duncan will get bigger and bigger. Judging from the first half of the game, Duncan couldn't stop Mu at all. I think in the second half, if Wake Forest wants to chase points, he will have to take a bag against Mu. The narrator briefly commented on the performance of Mu and Duncan. Spectator seats on the sidelines. Auerbach suddenly spoke, and Mu's technique is actually very good. I've read his profile, and he's never played basketball before college. In other words, his current basketball skills have been practiced in these 6 months. Perhaps this will be another Olajuwon? Auerbach's words made his assistant at his side ponder. You know, Olajuwon is also late to contact basketball, but it was still 3 years earlier than Mu. It was only after the age of 15 that Olajuwon came into contact with basketball. After playing in college for a few years, he became the champion of the '84 Diamond generation in the draft. If the story that happened to Olajuwon is placed on Mu's body, it seems to be very true. Even, Mu's potential is greater than Olajuwon. So, Bishop, do you think Mu is stronger than Duncan? Auerbach nodded slowly. Judging from the current data, Mu is actually stronger than Duncan. However, we should be thankful that Tim will not be in the draft next year, and Mu will be in the draft this year. So, if done right, maybe both rookies will join the Celtics. When the time comes, the Celtics can go sideways in the NBA. After the start of the second half, Wake Forest University suddenly began to use bag clips to deal with Mu. Facing the bag of Wake Forest University, Mu handled it very well. He could play big if he could play, and he passed the ball to the outside if he couldn't play, allowing Nash to patiently organize the attack. As long as Vic Forest traps itself, their defense is bound to be flawed, but Santa Clara University players seem to be slipping. 5 minutes into the second half, Santa Clara University's lead was only 5 points left. David immediately called a pause. "And, you're going to step up your attack in the low position," David said solemnly to Enmu. It turns out that this team needs Enmu. Santa Clara without a pasture is not the real Santa Clara. The pause ends. Enmu asked for a single ball in a low position, and the bag of Vic Forest once again rushed towards Enmu. A center who does not have the ability to hold the ball can only choose to pass when facing the bag clip. Odom smiled and looked at Enmu, who was frozen for 5 minutes in the second half. Vic Forest will definitely chase the score back in one fell swoop. Unlike last time, Enmu did not choose to pass the ball this time. Before the clip could form, the Amut ball slammed wildly. When the bag clip was formed, Enmu jumped up against everyone. Dodge all arms. Iron hammer of destruction strike again. Enmu jumped high, his eyes at the basket, his long arms fully extended. Mjolnir, coming again. Boom. Tim Duncan tried his best to cover Enmu, but his palm hit Enmu's arm. The referee blew his whistle and awarded Duncan a foul. Enmu got to the free throw line and hit the basketball steadily. The point difference is back to 8 points again. Good ball. The basketball has to be passed to Enmu. If it doesn't work for others, they can't score. You see the effect of passing the basketball to Enmu. The results are immediate. After Zhang Weiping's voice fell, Su Jiping said, "Director Zhang is right." Today, Zhang Weiping's passionate explanation made Su Jiping only honestly be a praiser. Vic Forest offensive round. Duncan holds the ball at the free throw line and watches the team run. After a precise move, Vic Forest finally slipped from the bottom line to the basket by the small forward. Duncan's pass reached him again. After getting the basketball, Victor Forest's small forward jumped on the basket. Enmu, who was still attached to Duncan just now, has rushed to the basket at great speed. Santa Clara had conceded one such goal before. This time Enmu will definitely not make the same mistake as just now. Bang! Divine soldiers descend from the sky. Enmu sturdy to the small forward of Wake Forest University, came a nail-bored big hat. At this moment, Duncan followed from behind and reached out just in time to get the basketball that was covered by Enmu. After receiving the ball, Duncan quickly smashed the basketball to the ground. Bang! Vic Forest flying devil, blatantly take off. Enmu's heavy hammer dunk just now had already made Duncan's heart angry. This stone Buddha, who has always shown himself with his skills, is also about to show his physical talent at this time. Tim Duncan's impact on the basket does not seem to be much weaker than Enmu. After blocking the small forward of Vic Forest, Enmu also turned to stare at Tim Duncan. "Want to dunk? And don't ask whose territory this is? Is it you who want to buckle?" The wildness in the depths of Enmu's eyes burst out fiercely. Soaring into the sky, 5 fingers headed towards the basketball cover in Duncan's hand like a mountain of 5 fingers. Bang! Tim Duncan's eyes instantly widened, and he felt that his palm, some tingling, and basketball, it seems to have deformed. Duncan's basketball is out of hand. The Santa Clara University players finally got their hands on the basketball and immediately launched a quick counterattack towards the front court. After being sealed, Tim Duncan looked like a volcanic eruption under his eyes. The Flying Devil stepped on the sneakers on the soles of his feet at this moment, and actually kept his position in line with Enmu. Nash moved fast with the ball, and Vic Forest's defense was too tight. Santa Clara University players couldn't find any chances. Enmu rushed into the three-point line and gave Nash a look at the same time. After seeing Enmu's eyes, Nash was a little surprised. Enmu still has Duncan by his side. Is that the decision to be made? If it had been someone else's request, Nash would definitely not have agreed. But this is Enmu's request, and the team's current lead is played by him. Therefore, he has no right to refuse Enmu. Chorus from beyond the three-point line and threw the basketball toward the basket. What? When the audience saw this scene, they all stood up unconsciously. This ball is too high. Although Enmu's bouncing ability is excellent, he can't catch it at all. And Tim Duncan is still with Enmu. This ball is likely to be destroyed by Tim Duncan. Yes. This pass by Steve Nash is up for debate. He's a good point guard, but this time his choice is really not good. Nash seemed to hear the fans talking, and a smile appeared on his lips. Huh. Do you really think and can't reach basketball? They didn't know that Enmu had ever had the experience of putting a coin on the edge of the backboard. Therefore, they could not imagine how Enmu would put a basketball into the basket. When the basketball rose to its highest point, AMU and Duncan jumped at the same time. Duncan struggled to reach his arm towards the basketball, trying to intercept, but he found that the basketball was too high. Now it has flown towards the edge of the backboard. Who can touch this? It must have been a mistake. Duncan was ready to serve the sideline ball when Duncan's body was falling to the ground. He had just reached his limit. But then he looked at Enmu. He is still rising? At this point, the basketball flew to the edge of the backboard. Enmu's palm, in Duncan's horrified eyes, also reached the edge of the backboard. Like the 5 fingers of a god's palm, they burst out with full force, holding the basketball firmly in their hands. Put your hands together. Arms, such as hammer handles. Palms, like hammerheads. Hammer of destruction. Bosom. The dimensional level power increase was on Enmu's body, and he once again went towards the NBA level basket. Lee Jessen, who was on the sidelines, stared at her big cute eyes and covered her mouth. Episode 54. The Fateful Enemy of an Age. Duncan's draft decision, Goddess, don't leave after school. When Tim Duncan felt that his body was falling, and the body of the Celestial Empire Center opposite him was still rising, he already sensed that something was wrong. When the Celestial Empire Center got the basketball along the rebound, Tim Duncan's face had begun to change wildly. The person who can make Stone Buddha Duncan's face change is only Enmu alone so far. When Enmu exerted his violent force on the basket, there was darkness in front of Tim Duncan's eyes. He knew why there was darkness before his eyes. Because Enmu detained himself. Boom! With a violent dunk, the basketball hoop also began to crunch, crackle, rebound, with a faint wail. Subsequently, Tim Duncan felt the small particles of tempered glass falling above his head. At the same time, after being hit by Enmu, he kept retreating, sitting directly next to the bottom-line photographer. It looks like I'm sitting here. Tim Duncan's eyes returned to light, and he put his gaze on the basketball hoop. Rebounds, shatter, and Enmu has already hidden far away. This giant beast from the Celestial Empire once again wreaked havoc on the basket. Moreover, it is with such an exaggerated aerial relay against the sky, will rebound and smash. Whoosh! When they saw Enmu smash the rebound, the fans in the audience let out a shocking and incredible shout. Oh my god! This is fake, right? It's shocking. Can anyone really dunk the rebound? Madison Arena and Pepsi Center have fallen to the same fate. We were laughing at the poor quality of the basket in Denver, but now it seems that it is not a problem of the quality of the basket at all. Enmu smashed the rebound again. How many times in his college career has he smashed a rebound? People were also shocked by the incident of Enmu smashing the backbound. At the same time, the large screen above the stadium is also replaying everything that has just happened. When people watched the replay carefully, it seemed dunks and rebounds have become less important, because this guy's bounce just now is terrible. While Tim Duncan had begun to fall significantly, Enmu was still on the rise. When Enmu's eyes were at eye level with the basket, he was still rising. Finally, when Enmu's arm took the basketball along the backboard in his hand, his body also began to fall. At the same time, the arm also vented Thor's anger on the basket like Mjolnir. Subsequently, the basket was punished as if by Thor. Silk burst. Inch by inch disconnected. Leave no trace. The backboard formed by tempered glass has now become a small particle lying quietly on the ground. It seems that everyone can see from these small particles the epitome of everything that just happened. These small particles are the closest witnesses to everything just now. At the same time, it is also a victim. After Enmu landed, he looked at the rebound that had been smashed and smiled helplessly. The hammer of destruction is too powerful, less strength in the future. Waiting for a basketball hoop to be replaced is too time-consuming. Delay me clocking out from work. And unexpectedly, you can really do it. As the saying goes, behind every earth-shattering aerial relay, there is an outrageous pass. Nash is the dominant player in the outrageous passing, and Enmu, through talent, put this pass steadily into the basket. And I dare say it was definitely the most gorgeous tie of the season. Nash excitedly stretched out his palm and gave Enmu a high five in celebration. Steve, I'm afraid we'll have to wait a little longer. Enmu pointed to the broken basketball hoop. Bye. Seeing Enmu grab the basketball in his hand at a height that exceeds the edge of the backboard, and then dunk it into the basket. At the same time, after smashing the rebound, Jordan's cloud-light wind just now disappeared. Forced fart. In this dunk that shocked the audience, Jordan's character was completely shattered. What he has to do now is actually very simple. That is, the same as Barkley and Pippen next to him. Crazy flag shaking, crazy shouting 666. It seems that I am really going to treat me today. I hope these two guys can leave some leeway when ordering at night. Jordan has realized that his bet seems to be lost before the game is over. Looking at Enmu, who dunked and rebounded on the court, Lee Jessen recalled that afternoon. The sun is nice, and the breeze is not dry. With a boring mood, I met this cheerful big man in a coffee shop. The afternoon conversation had long dispelled the unpleasantness in her heart. She forgot to ask the big man's name, but saw his name on a big advertising screen on the streets of New York. The last scene on the big screen shocked her the most. The hand pulls the basket and dunks the basketball hoop down, like a god of war. It left an infinite deep impression on Lee Jessen's heart. And the picture on the big screen was once again staged in front of him. However, unlike that time, Enmu looked at himself again after dunking the rebound. At this moment, Lee Jessen's heart was pounding, like a deer bumping. This guy. Don't you forget to pry your sister when you play on the court. Lee Jessen thought a little shyly. This scene is somewhat fantastic. Unreal. CCTV 5 sets of commentary stations. This ball. Enmu showed his physical talent 100% in front of all fans in the United States. Look at his action of slamming Duncan. This is the death button. With this action, he told the fans of the whole meter a word, yellow race. Can fly too. Even, you can fly higher than blacks and whites. This is the pride of our Celestial Empire basketball. He represents not only himself, but also the future of Celestial Empire basketball. Enmu, with this dunk, I told the world, the sky is not his limit. The universe is. Zhang Weiping's words hammered like a hammer to the hearts of domestic fans watching the live broadcast. They only feel it now, and their blood is boiling. That warm blood welled up in my heart. Perhaps, it's time for us to look forward to it, and Mu will also attend this year's Olympics. When Zhang Weiping's voice fell, Su Jiping glanced at Zhang Weiping with some shock. This is not something that can be said casually. He stretched out his leg and kicked Zhang Weiping, but Zhang Weiping didn't feel it at all. Zhang Weiping said to himself, the defense of the inner line of the Celestial Empire is not good. If Mu appears in the national team, our inner line will be as strong as an iron wall. He will support the Celestial Empire national team men's basketball inside the sky. At this time, the staff on the court is replacing the basketball hoop. At the same time, CCTV5 also began to insert advertisements. Su Jiping took off the headset, looked at Zhang Weiping and said, Old Zhang, are you crazy? Is this to smash your own job? The roster list of the national team is not something you want to enter. There are too many things involved in it. Zhang Weiping smiled. It's okay, the job is gone. I know English, I played basketball, and I can live well without explanation. Su Jiping still asked inexplicably, why? Zhang Weiping said, I retired from the national team, and I know what the national team lacks now. The reason why I said that is to pave a way for Mu. Domestic fans have now thought about the Olympic Games. Maybe Mu can enter the national team? Zhang Weiping's tone is very flat, but under the flat tone, it hides his expectations for the results of the men's basketball team. The older generation of athletes all wants to do well, achieve the goal of sports power. In terms of small ball, table tennis and badminton have very good results. In terms of big ball, the foot basketball volleyball, except for the women's volleyball team, is not good. Since returning to the Olympics in 1984, basketball has not made it in the top 8 in the world. The Celestial Empire world is the world's most populous country, and basketball results cannot enter the top 8. Which is a pain in the heart of Zhang Weiping's basketball national hand. Now, out of basketball is Mu, such a talented person. Not letting him join the national team, Zhang Weiping was very unwilling. Therefore, he fought hard to lose the responsibility of his job, and also wanted to try if he could let Mu enter the national team. Okay, it's okay. Zhang Weiping patted Su Jiping on the shoulder and said, let's continue to explain. We want to explain this final to the audience well. The basketball hoop was replaced and the game continued. However, this buckle became a watershed moment in the game. Starting with this ball that dunked and rebounded, Santa Clara University was full of momentum. Victor Forrest also has a lot of tough battles on this side. And although the morale has not fallen, it is not as good as the high-spirited Santa Clara University players. After Duncan was detained by Mu's death, his state was still as stable as old. To be honest, there are too few people who can have such psychological qualities. The psychology he studied during Duncan University would allow him to play normally for life, and Santa Clara University exploded collectively. In 5 minutes, there was a wave of 16-6 offensive high chow. The game slowly came to an end under the bombardment of Santa Clara University's internal and external alliances. Finally, the 40-minute NCAA tournament finals ended. Santa Clara University beat Wake Forest University 101-84 by 15 points, and bombarded 55 points, 25 rebounds, and 12 blocks. Nash also had a double-double of 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 18 assists. Stone Buddha Duncan and Marcus Camby and their ilk are different. If it is replaced by Camby, under the defense of Mu, it is difficult to say that he scored 10 points in the whole game. However, Duncan played 40 minutes today, shooting 10 of 21 from the field and 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He finished with 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Such data is good enough in normal times. However, this year's NCAA is not normal, and there is a female heavenly man named Mu Evil, 552510. Such data, except for Mu, no one can do it. After the game, the two sides communicated, and Mu walked up to Duncan. Tim, you are still young, the future is yours. Duncan stared at Mu motionlessly, and he suddenly felt that Mu's words seemed to touch the depths of his soul. This sentence, as if I once dreamed of it? It seems to be in total. In the final, what did you say to that opponent after defeating it? Duncan thought with some uncertainty. After Mu and Duncan hugged, they said to Duncan, I will participate in the draft this year. After I leave the NCAA, with your dominance, I will definitely take Wake Forest University to win the championship. This sounds very friendly, but when you think about it deeper, it's a bit of a mockery. Duncan is a smart man, and he understands that Mu's words are a bit similar to trash talk. The meaning of this sentence is somewhat similar. I am the strongest, you are the second. When I'm gone, you'll be the strongest. So you have to thank me for leaving. Well, that's it. Although Tim Duncan is not good at expressing himself in ordinary life, he is extremely proud in his heart. After hearing Mu's words, Duncan was a little resistant. And I won't ask for your handouts, Duncan said to Mu in a heavy voice. Then you come to the NBA early and compete with me. And Mu raised an eyebrow. To be honest, it's still fun to be picky. I'll think about it. Duncan said a sullen word before turning away. Hey, isn't it? Looking at Duncan's back, and Mu is a little uncertain about the future. If Duncan chooses to participate in the draft, then everything will be messed up. The 20-year-old stone foundation stone of the Spurs is gone. Popovich without Duncan, what should I do? I probably won't run early. After all, finishing his senior year was Duncan's promise to his mother. And Mu thought for a moment and felt that Duncan was talking angrily. Tim, don't be discouraged, we still have a chance next year. Coach Odom of Wake Forest University patted Duncan on the broad shoulder. Go back to sleep, the world will be the same as yesterday again. Next year, we will definitely win the championship. The manager comforts his players in his own way. However, Duncan suddenly looked up at Odom. Coach, how to participate in the draft without delaying your studies? What the? Coach Odom felt like he had a problem with his ears. The word draft has hardly ever appeared in Duncan's words before, because, in his first years in college, Duncan's goal wasn't a draft at all. Instead, he gave each of his homework an A. But, after playing this final, Duncan suddenly decided to participate in the draft. Coach, is there a way? Duncan looked at Odom and asked, if I enter the draft, will I get my diploma? Odom looked at Duncan and asked slowly, you really decided? Duncan nodded. If I can get my graduation certificate, if I can participate in the early election, I will decide to participate in the draft. I don't need MU's handouts. I'm going into the NBA and continuing to compete with him. Odom looking at Duncan with mixed feelings. This big man who used to be indisputable and indispensable in the game with Mu today, all his arrogant spirit was aroused. He wants to be in the NBA with Mu and continue to compete for a high and low. Odom said, there is a way. Retain your student status and study on your own. When you come to take the exam at the end of the semester, as long as you can pass the exam, pass the graduation defense at the same time, and complete the credits, you will also get your own graduation certificate. There are many things in history. O'Neal did not give up his studies after entering the draft in 1992, and received his diploma in 2000. After Curry entered the draft in 2009, he was in 2011 to 2012. During the shutdown season, the elementary school students reloaded their school bags, returned to school to complete their credits, and received their graduation certificates. After hearing what Odom said, Duncan nodded. Tim, there is still more than a month before the draft registration deadline. You have to think about it. I respect all your choices. Duncan nodded calmly. This final is undoubtedly very exciting. We witnessed the showdown between Mu and Tim Duncan. See two giants playing in very different ways. For all the fans, this game is unforgettable. This should be the most exciting finals in NCAA history. After Mike Bryn finished speaking, Albert said, today's game reminds me of the 1979 University of Michigan and Indiana University games. The theme of that game is Larry Bird versus Magic John News. The two of them also gave everyone a wonderful game, and that game was also a preview of the Battle of the Yellow and Green Army, when Larry Bird entered the green shirts and Magician Johnson entered the purple and gold army. Black and white has always been the tone of the 80s. I think this match between Mu and Duncan is very similar. Perhaps, the two of them will be the tone of the next decade of the league. And Mu and Duncan, like Magician and Larry Bird, will become fateful enemies. Champion, crown. The atmosphere at Santa Clara University is very lively. All the players ran towards Mu and surrounded Mu in the middle. Come on. Let and feel the feeling of soaring into the sky again. Under Nash's coaxing, everyone lifted Mu up, and then threw the team's champion high into the air. After the photographers on the sidelines saw this scene, they also recorded this precious scene with their cameras. Lee Jessen clenched her small fist and looked at Mu, who was thrown high by her teammates, and showed a sweet smile. We are champions. We are champions. We are champions. Most of the Santa Clara University players cried with joy. This game may be the highest honor in their basketball career. It was Mu who gave them the opportunity to stand on the stage of the national competition and lift the championship trophy. If it weren't for Mu, maybe Santa Clara University wouldn't have made it to March Madness. Not to mention winning the current championship. Coach David looked at the celebratory players and smiled happily. Perhaps, the pastor will transform Santa Clara University. The appearance of Mu will make Santa Clara University attract more excellent players. Coach David believes that in the near future, Santa Clara University will have a chance to lift the championship trophy again. The future is still far away. David is not going to think about it. He wants to enjoy the joy of victory with his players. In the carnival of players, NCAA staff walked to the court holding the trophy. David and Nash pushed Mu out at the same time. And Mu is a hero, and the championship trophy must be lifted by him. Let's come together. And Mu smiled and handed the trophy to Nash and David. Nash and David smiled at the same time, and the three of them picked up the basketball together. Record it. This fantastic season. This dark horse team that reached the final. This giant of the celestial empire that shocks the whole meter. Stay one. The shutter flashes, and everything on the field is recorded by the camera. Santa Clara University won the first championship trophy in the history of the varsity team. At Santa Clara University, whether it's a basketball team, a football team, or any other team, the team name is Bronco. This championship trophy is not only the first championship trophy of the basketball team, it is also the first championship trophy of all sports events at Santa Clara University. After taking the photo, Mu suddenly ran to the sidelines and made a lip shape to Lee Jessen. Don't go, wait for me. Lee Jessen suddenly felt that this scene was a bit like when she was in school. At that time, a male classmate who had a crush on him summoned up the courage to keep himself from leaving school, and he had something to say to himself. At that time, Lee Jae-sun shook her high ponytail and proudly rejected the male classmate, but this time, she would not refuse Eunwoo's request. Episode 55 is a little sweet. After the championship trophy was delivered, the MOP trophy was also delivered. Who is the MOP? This is a question that does not need to be thought about at all. Who performed the best in the NCAA Final Four? Allen Iverson? Tim Duncan? Steve Nash? Neither. The most outstanding is undoubtedly Mu. He received the MOP trophy, which represents the highest individual honor in NCAA history. This time, he was able to lift the trophy himself, because this is an individual honor or a team honor. And Mu became the first Celestial Empire MOP player in NCAA history. He is also one of the few players in NCAA history to win a MOP award as a freshman. The live broadcast of CCTV 5 sets has not stopped, because Zhang Weiping just said, after the award ceremony, he would go to interview Eunwoo. Many fans are looking forward to Eunwoo's interview, and everyone is curious, what kind of person is the center player? At the same time, Zhang Weiping also used his not rich NCAA common sense to explain what MOP is for everyone. According to Zhang Weiping's explanation, fans also have a general understanding. This MOP is equivalent to the FMVP that Jordan got at the beginning. It is an honorary award that can only be won by the best player of the championship team. The award ceremony ended quickly. Zhang Weiping immediately picked up the microphone and walked to the court, which was specially arranged by the NCAA, and also belonged to Stern's treatment for CCTV. As usual, the reporters who come here to cover are usually reporters from ESPN, the largest sports television station in the United States. Other TV reporters had to wait until the press conference in the conference room afterwards. It can be said that Stern gave CCTV a very large treatment, in order to improve his image in the minds of CCTV, so as to reach cooperation with CCTV. Zhang Weiping quickly came to Eunwoo's side and raised the microphone. Hello, Eunwoo, I'm Zhang Weiping, a reporter from CCTV 5. Guidance Zhang is good. For the characters in various NBA novels, Eunwoo is naturally very familiar. At the same time, in his previous life, he also grew up listening to Guidance Zhang's explanations. How did you feel after winning the NCAA championship? Very good. The victory of this game is the result of teamwork. Santa Clara University is a great team. I'm playing well here. Nash is also a good point guard, and hopefully the fans in the country can also support Nash. What does it feel like to dunk a rebound? When I was in San Antonio, I went to the field where you dunked the basketball hoop. Today I saw you dunk and rebound again on the scene. I was so impressed. And Mu smiled and said, actually, there is no special feeling. It is when the small particles formed by the tempered glass fall after the backboard is shattered, and it feels very comfortable. And Mu, do you have any tricks for dunking rebounds? Put all your strength into your hands and dunk with all your might. Actually, it's still relatively relaxed. Boy, after hearing Eunwoo's words, Zhang Weiping was secretly stunned. If it were as simple as you say, then everyone in the world could dunk and smash rebounds? Fieldside interviews usually only ask a few small questions. After answering the question, Eunwoo turned to leave. Suddenly, Zhang Weiping asked the photographer next to him to turn off the camera. He looked at Eunwoo and asked, Eunwoo, do you have any plans to enter the national team? Eunwoo was stunned for a moment, and then remembered that the Olympics would be held this summer. To be honest, he didn't want to be in the national team. After all, things on the national team are too complicated, and he has not registered basketball players in China, so he really doesn't necessarily make it to the national team. But who doesn't want to put on a battle shirt and fight for the country on the field? Every time I see the World Series, the Olympic athletes of the Celestial Empire compete on the field. And Mu is also always enthusiastic. In his previous life he did not have that qualification and ability, now he has qualifications and ability. To be honest, some heartwarming. If the country needs me, I will not hesitate to participate. And Mu said in a very affirmative tone. Good. Zhang Weiping nodded heavily. Originally, he thought that Eunwoo would not participate in the Olympic Games. But after Eunwoo agreed now, Zhang Weiping's last trace of worry disappeared. When I return to China, I will do my best to help you. Zhang Weiping looked at Eunwoo, who turned away, and couldn't help but be more firm in his thoughts. Celestial Empire basketball needs a giant. At present, Eunwoo is the post-game press conference of the giant who supported the basketball of the Celestial Empire. A large number of media participated in the event. Head coach David made a brief statement. The last season has been a dream for all our players. We went from a team that couldn't make March Madness to a March Madness tournament champion. We have made a quantum leap. Steve Nash received your NCAA's highest honor as he neared graduation, and I'm so happy for him. Mu was the most important player in the team last season. He was the heart of the attack and defense on the field. Without his attacking attack, without his defensive town, we would not be where we are now. So I'm really grateful to Steve and for making the University of Santa Clara champion today. After speaking, David handed the microphone to the two disciples. Reporters began to ask questions. And, after winning the championship, Will you continue to play in college or enter the NBA? This is undoubtedly what all journalists are looking forward to. After winning the NCAA championship, there is nothing to attract Enmu in the NCAA College League. Steve Nash, it's already his senior year this year, so there is nothing wrong with his candidacy. So, will Enmu run? Many people actually have the answer in their hearts, but they still want to hear Enmu's own answer. Enmu said without the slightest hesitation, "At the beginning of the season, I thought that if I won the NCAA championship, then the NCAA would not be difficult for me. So, after my freshman year, I'm going to bring my talent into the NBA." Enmu's decision was reasonable and expected. Reporters turned their cameras on Enmu and Steve Nash. The Silicon Valley duo is about to leave college and enter the NBA. What kind of future will they have in the more professional league of the NBA? Can Steve Nash's physical fitness adapt to the confrontation in the NBA? Enmu, will it be the NBA's draft champion this year? Everything is unknown. When Enmu's draft decision was spoken, the reaction of all parties was the same. Jerry West dialed the team's head coach. "I don't want us to win any of the next games. We must get the champion show this year." Warriors general manager Turchowak also dialed Adelman. "Enmu has announced his candidacy, so we have to make sure we have the best chance of getting the championship sign. We can't win." Auerbach, who had no position in the Celts but spoke better than anyone else, also took out the phone. However, the moment before he dialed the phone, his assistant suddenly walked to his side. The manager. The assistant looked at Auerbach, who was about to make a call, and was a little eager to talk. "What are you doing?" Straight to the point. Auerbach was always a fierce man, and he didn't like to talk when people talked. When the assistant heard this, he said, "Just now, Tim Duncan decided to participate in the draft." Auerbach held his phone in his hand and was silent for a long time. He raised his head and looked at his assistant, making a final confirmation. "Really?" The assistant nodded. "Really?" In Wake Forest's post-game press conference, Tim Duncan said that he will not stay in the NCAA, he will enter the NBA to compete with AMU. Hearing this, Auerbach took his cigar out of his pocket. After lighting the cigar and looking at the rising green smoke, Auerbach just wanted to say, "All the special is messed up." Of all the NCAA players, Tim Duncan's candidacy is the most certain. But now, everything has changed. Due to AMU's stimulation of Tim Duncan, he actually chose to participate in the draft early. And this was said in front of the media. "If you say it, the water that is spilled out, it is impossible to take it back." Auerbach pinched his forehead with both hands in some annoyance. Originally, he had the most perfect draft plan in his heart. Choose Enmu this year and Duncan next year. With Duncan's candidacy, it has been shattered. It's still necessary to put it in a good position. Enmu and Duncan can choose one of the two, and it will also be earned. After Auerbach had made up his mind, he took out the phone again and dialed it. Communicated his decision to the Celtic head coach. Enmu quickly returned to the dressing room after the press conference. After some tidying, he lifted his backpack and rushed to the gate. Looking at the burning Enmu, Nash smiled and said, "Huh. You guy, are you in a hurry to celebrate the championship with that girl?" This forgetful guy. Nash still can't forget that Enmu got up early this morning to go to the supermarket to buy ingredients, and then went to the hotel kitchen to work all morning. What to do? Nash doesn't know. I thought Enmu would feed himself a little, but Nash was disappointed. Enmu really didn't feed himself at all, just as he said in the morning. Watching Enmu pick up his backpack and prepare to leave the locker room, Nash felt that Enmu was desperate. "Steve, you and the others go to the nightclub to party." Enmu patted his backpack. "I have something to do." Nash rolled his eyes and said, Go ahead, go ahead. It's only been a few days since I came to New York, and I found a date." "Steve, are you jealous and jealous?" "Bah. And I'm also a Santa Clara schoolgrass, I will be jealous of you? Let's go, let's go. I may be tempted to snatch the contents of your bag after a while." Nash knew that Enmu's school bag contained things that he had been busy in the kitchen all morning. When Enmu heard Nash's words, he simply turned around neatly and did not take away a cloud. "Bye." Looking at the still shaking locker room door, Nash complained helplessly. Then he turned to look at the other teammates at Santa Clara University. "Guys. And has abandoned us. Next, it's our bachelorette nightclub party." Speaking of nightclubs, at this time, Jordan, Pippen, and Barkley were heading towards the largest clubhouse in New York. Jordan, however, lost the bet with Barkley, so he had to pay for everything he spent at Barkley's most clubhouse today. Barkley will naturally make a black hand on Jordan. Don't pit friends, still call friends. After Enmu walked out of the dressing room, he dialed Lee Jessen's phone. "Hey, are you leaving?" "No, didn't you let me wait for you?" Lee Jiawan's soft and glutinous voice came from the microphone. "Tell me the location and I'll go find you." After learning of Lee Jessen's location, Enmu quickly arrived. Looking up, the sign of a coffee shop is again. It's late at night, and Lee Jessen is still sitting in the window seat as when the two first met. Look out the window at the night. On the table in front of her, there was also a cup of coffee that she had not drunk. Enmu did not choose to enter the store, but walked to the window. Lee Jessen was startled when she saw Enmu's tall figure. After discovering that it was Enmu, he patted his chest with his small hand, and then showed his small fist threateningly at Enmu. Enmu beckoned to her and motioned for Lee Jessen to come out. After seeing Enmu's gesture, Lee Jessen did not hesitate, stood up and left the coffee shop. As for the coffee on the table, he still hasn't taken a sip. Why don't you go in? Lee Jason walked to Enmu's side and asked curiously. Enmu did not answer his question, but looked at Lee Jason with a smile. Did you just show your fist at me? Lee Jiaoluan looked at Enmu with disgust. Yes. You're scaring me to death. You are so tall and strong, suddenly appeared by the window. I thought it was the Hulk. Enmu suddenly stretched out his hand and looked at Lee Jason. Look, how about my sandbag-sized fist? Lee Jason wordlessly rolled her eyes at Enmu. Suddenly, she stretched out her own hand. You open your hand. Enmu opened his hand. Lee Jason put her hand in front of Enmu's big hand. Your hand is also too big. Just as the size of the alphabet brother and the reporter in the previous life, Lee Jason is also using Enmu's hand to compare with her own. I'm 213 centimeters tall. How small do you think my hands can be? Enmu said, putting his big hand in front of Lee Jason's face. There was darkness. Lee Jason's sweet little face was completely covered by Enmu's big hand. Lee Jason suddenly felt that being wrapped in Enmu's big hand had a sense of security. By the way, aren't you celebrating with your teammates? Lee Jiaoluan asked. Enmu replied, there is nothing to celebrate. The celebration of a dozen people is not interesting. When you return to Santa Clara, the whole school will celebrate, and that is the real championship celebration ceremony. Oh. Lee Jason tilted her head and looked at Enmu again. What are you doing calling me out so late? Enmu took his backpack in front of him, unzipped it, and took out a pink thermos cup. Last time you said you didn't like to drink bitter, so I made you a cup of milk tea. It should still be hot. Lee Jason looked at the thermos cup in Enmu's big hand, and felt that Enmu was not holding the cup, but in that capsule. Looking at the pink thermos cup, there was a warm current flowing through Lee Jason's heart. You want to play the final, and you still have time to make me milk tea? Enmu smiled and said, yes. What kind of milk tea is this? Burned fairy grass. Enmu said, putting the cup in Lee Jason's hand. Lee Jason looked up at Enmu and asked with a red face, is this a gift you gave me? See what you think. Drink while it's hot. Enmu does not make a simple milk tea shop roasted fairy grass, but a traditional burnt fairy grass drink. Whether it is the taste, it is much better than that of the milk tea shop. Lee Jason opened the thermos cup and took a small sip. Warm, soft, glutinous. The smile on the face, sweet. Thank you. The United States is no better than Hong Kong Island, and the drinks seem to be only coffee and cola. Coffee is too bitter. Cola is a carbonated drink is unhealthy. The burnt fairy grass you made is my favorite. Lee Jason smiled happily and said to Enmu. Looking back at the coffee shop, Lee Jason pointed to the street. Let's go for a walk. The streets of the United States at night are not very safe. However, because the NCAA finals have just ended, in order to maintain the order and security of the audience, the City Hall has asked the police department to send a lot of patrols. At least, the streets of New York are safe this evening. The two chatted casually as they walked. Lee Jason thought in her heart, it seems, this feeling is also very good. Looking at the tall figure beside him, he was full of security. Looking at the thermos cup in his hand, his heart was also warm. Finally, Enmu walked to Lee Jason's residence. Go up. Enmu said, aren't you going in and sitting down? Generally, girls come home late at night and invite boys home to sit down. Enmu was just about to speak when Nash's phone called. And, are you free? Nash's voice was weak, and the voices around him were very noisy, and it was definitely in a nightclub. Nightclubs, NBA players, early morning. Thinking of these three words, Enmu couldn't help but think of the story of Pierce nightclub being stabbed 21 times. Enmu's tone was anxious. What's wrong? Come quickly. After Nash gave an address, he hurriedly hung up the phone. Nima, it won't be controlled, right? It stands to reason that it shouldn't. Nash won't go out alone, he should have gone out with his teammates. Is everything wrong? Enmu frowned. Sorry, something seems to be wrong with my teammates, I have to go over. Enmu pointed to the mobile phone in his hand. Lee Jason bit her lip. Then you go first. Enmu nodded and was about to turn around and leave. Lee Jason stopped Enmu again, and turned to look at Lee Jason, and Lee Jason looked directly at Enmu. The two looked at each other for a while, and Lee Jason suddenly lowered her little head and said in a low voice, Enmu, ask you a question. What problem? You. Do you have a girlfriend?